we can see that the church has come under attack through persecution, and now a new crisis has appeared. Unable to destroy the church by way of persecution and deceit, Satan now tries his next ploy in order to create a split in the church by getting believers to argue and fight with each other. If Satan had succeeded in creating an implosion within this church, the only church in existence at the time, then the effects could have been devastating. I've had people tell me they want a church without any form of organisational structure. And I tell them that if a church has no organisational and leadership structure, then it will soon have chaos rather than harmony, and it will collapse rather than grow and serve. Of course, some leaders are corrupt or make wrong decisions, but godly leaders will not be corrupt. They will make decisions that are wise and based on prayer and spiritual insights. So, what was the problem? How did they solve the problem? And what happened after it was resolved? Reading from Acts chapter 6 verse 1. Now in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplying, a complaint arose from the Hellenists against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily service. So there's good news. The church was growing, but this growth had caused a problem, which was the bad news, and that was some widows were not being cared for. And Hebraic Jews had always lived in the then nation of Israel, spoke mainly Aramaic and some Hebrew. They would have been well used to life in a Jewish society, the temple, and avoiding those who were not Jews, the Gentiles. Grecian or Hellenistic Jews were part of the Jewish diaspora, born elsewhere within the known world, and had returned to Jerusalem. These people mainly spoke Greek and were well used to working with the Gentiles or non-Jews. And we know from the Old Testament that widows were and are important to God, because justice is important to God, because God is a God of justice and mercy. And in the Old Testament, under the law of Moses, God commanded provision for those who are widows, oppressed, or uncared for. The apostles would have known about God caring for the widows, and in Jesus' teaching about justice for the poor and the oppressed. We know this because in Acts chapter 2 and Acts chapter 4, people were willing and selling and sharing possessions and ensuring that people within the Christian community were being looked after and cared for. This included making sure that everyone got fed, particularly those who had no family to care for them. Somehow, unintentional or not, this group of widows were missing out. So what was the solution?